trustees also have before them the minutes from the executive session of April 7th, 2020. Are there questions or discussion on those minutes? I'll ask for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Ask the village clerk to please call the roll.
Trustee Grady Parovich.
Aye.
Trustee Hardy.
Aye.
Trustee Zeldin-Ross.
Aye.
Trustee Bassi.
Aye.
Trustee Manno.
Aye.
Trustee Fish.
Aye.
I have nothing under the mayor's report. We'll move on to the village administrator's report. Mr. Pegorski.
Thank you, Mayor. Nothing in this meeting.
Move on to the village attorney's report. Mr. Welch.
Nothing to report.
Finance and Human Relations Commission, Trustee Abassi.
Thank you, Mayor. 2 items tonight. I'd like to make a motion that we would approve payroll for the period ending April 4, 2020 in the amount of $507,575.84. That we would approve total accounts payable for the dates April 6, April 13, April 21, 2020 in the amount of $946,202.80. We would approve reclassification for April 16, 2020, in the amount of $0.00.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve bills and payroll for Tuesday, April 21st, 2020. Are there questions or discussion? I'll ask the village clerk to please call the roll.
Trustee Bassi.
Aye.
Trustee Zeldin-Ross.
Aye.
Trustee Grady Parovich.
Aye.
Trustee Hardy.
Aye.
Trustee Manno.
Aye.
Trustee Fish.
Aye.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution number 1162, authorizing the execution of a settlement agreement in bankruptcy case number 19-00475.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to adopt resolution 1162, authorizing the execution of a settlement agreement in bankruptcy case number 19-00475. Are there questions or discussion? I'll ask the village clerk to please call the roll.
Trustee Bassi.
Aye.
Trustee Zeldin-Ross.
Aye.
Trustee Grady Parovich.
Aye.
Trustee Hardy.
Aye.
Trustee Manno.
Aye.
Trustee Fish.
Aye.
Thank you. I'd like to highlight a few items from the March 2020 Finance Department monthly report. Trustees, you've received via email revenue and expenditure reports for March. If you have any questions, just ensure you're asking the Finance Department or your department heads. One of the items to note is that the Finance Department was looking to hire a additional front desk clerk. With everything going on with COVID-19, that position's been put on hold. Arlette, anything else you want to add at this time? Okay, thanks. Trustees, just so you're aware, HRC committee has not met the past 2 months due to COVID concerns. So just if any of you were wondering, we have nothing further tonight.
Thank you. We'll move on to airport and economic development. Trustee Fish.
Thank you, Mayor. I have 3 items tonight. First one is motion to approve resolution number 1163, approving and authorizing proposal for the Fox Point monument sign for Rhoda Signs. Second.
A motion and a second to adopt resolution 1163, a resolution of the Village of Lansing, Cook County, Illinois, approving and authorizing the proposal for the Fox Point monument sign from Rhoda Signs. Are there questions or discussion? Ask the village clerk to please call the roll.
Trustee Fish.
Aye.
Trustee Hardy.
Aye.
Trustee Bassi.
Aye.
Trustee Manno.
Aye.
Trustee Grady Parovich.
Aye.
Trustee Zeldin-Ross.
Aye.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the amended application for participation in the Ridge Road Facade Program, additional amount of grant assistance not to exceed $4,800 to K-PAC Management, 3224 Ridge. Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the amended application for participation in the Ridge Road Facade Program, an additional amount of grant assistance not to exceed $4,800 for KPAC Management, 3224 Ridge Road. Are there questions or discussion? I'll ask the village clerk to please call the roll.
Trustee Fish.
Aye.
Trustee Hardy.
Aye.
Trustee Grady Parovich.
Aye.
Trustee Zeldin-Ross.
Aye.
Trustee Bassi.
Aye.
Trustee Manno.
Aye. I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution number 1164, authorizing the acceptance of the donation of a replica P-51 Mustang aircraft from Lansing Municipal Airport.
Second.
A motion and a second to adopt resolution 1164, authorizing the acceptance of the donation of a replica P-51 Mustang aircraft for the Lansing Municipal Airport. Are there questions or discussion? I'll ask the village clerk to please call the roll.
Trustee Fish?
Aye.
Trustee Hardy?
Aye.
Trustee Brady Parovich?
Aye.
Trustee Zeldin-Rust?
Aye.
Trustee Mano?
Aye.
Trustee Bassi?
Aye.
Under the airport monthly report for March, the airport had her windows fixed at Lenny Q's. On March 9th, 8,000 gallons of fuel were ordered for $26,829.24. Due to the COVID-19, Lenny Q celebrated her third year in business without customers. Last year, some storms messed up some of the fence at the Ford hangar and by Lenny Q's, so the fence was fixed. One of the hangar tenants moved out. The airport maintains a list of pilots who needed hangars, so the spot was quickly filled. We have 100 hangars and they're all currently filled. We had the airport electrician check all the lamps on the runways, replace a few. And a company came out to test the soil for safety near the old fuel tanks on the property that are scheduled to be moved in the future. That's all I have tonight, Mayor.
Thank you. Police and fire trustees Zeldin-Rust.
Thank you, Mayor. Have, one item to present for approval. Ordinance 20-012, authorizing collective bargaining agreement by and between the Village of Lansing and the Illinois FOP Labor Council for Fraternal Order of Police Lodge 2018.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to adopt ordinance 20-012, authorizing a collective bargaining agreement by and between the Village of Lansing and the Illinois FOP Labor Council for Fraternal Order Police Lodge 218. Are there questions or discussion? I'll ask the village clerk to please call the roll.
I'm sorry, I didn't get the second. Who seconded?
Size.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Zeldin-Rust?
Aye.
Trustee Bassi?
Aye.
Trustee Brady Parovich?
Aye.
Trustee Hardy?
Aye.
Trustee Mano?
Aye.
Trustee Fish?
Aye.
Thank you. Moving on to the monthly reports from the Police Department for March 2020. The Police Department 911 Center handled 8,393 calls, generating 3,657 police incident reports. The Police Department had 80 arrests made during the month of March. All of these numbers reflect pre-COVID-19 procedures where contact was minimized, so the numbers were still up in early March. $15,000 administrative fees were collected. 4 ox cart permits were issued totaling $175. 29 abandoned vehicles were located and notices served. And one item of note, the license plate reader cameras have been installed at Ridge and Wentworth. Aside from some programming issues, these should be up and functional very soon. Moving on to the fire department. The March 2020 report, the department gave mutual aid 19 times and received mutual aid 26 times. Special note, we lost our longtime brother, firefighter Bill Bauer, on March 3. Formerly a full-time lieutenant and original leader of our public education program. Bill has been an inspector with the Fire Prevention Bureau for many years. We miss him and remember his extreme kindness and willingness to help others. Finally, the department wanted to report that although their procedures are all affected by the COVID-19 pandemic, their supplies of face masks, protective gowns, and disinfectants have all been keeping up with the demand, and they're thankful for all the many people and companies that have donated to assist at this time. Mayor, that's all I have for this evening.
Thank you. Buildings and Public Works trustee Hardy.
Thank you, Mayor. I have 3 items here tonight for approval. First being, I'd like to make a motion to award bid for MWRD infiltration and inflow 1-of-1 program sewer lining in Oakwood Estates to Viju Sewer of Illinois in the amount of $197,753.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to award the bid for MWRD infiltration and inflow programmed sewer lines in Oakwood Estates to Vista Sewer of Illinois in the amount of $197,753. Are there questions or discussion? I'll ask the village clerk to please call the roll.
Trustee Hardy?
Aye.
Trustee Fish?
Aye.
Trustee Mano?
Aye.
Trustee Bassi?
Aye.
Trustee Grady Palovich?
Aye.
Trustee Zeldin-Ross?
Aye.
Second, I'd like to make a motion, authorize advertising for bid for the 2020 street resurfacing program.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to authorize advertising for bids for the 2020 street resurfacing program. Are there questions or discussion?
Mayor, I just do have one question. If Administrator Bydorski can just kind of clarify for me. Although we're going out for bid, does the current state of COVID finances on village budget impact the potential project, like this project?
Well, we're gonna get into a little bit deeper discussion in the committee meeting. Obviously, there's gonna be a severe impact on village revenues by COVID-19 closures of businesses. At this point in time, we feel comfortable, going out to bid for the street resurfacing program. And at a later date and time, after we, this going out to bid just starts the process. Then we have to receive the bids, award the bids, and then wait for the work to get done. We can always trim the program back at a later date if we decide we need to hold back on some of those funds.
Thank you.
I'll second that. If it hasn't been already.
Again, we have a motion and a second to authorize advertising for bids for the 2020 street resurfacing program. Is there any other discussion or questions? I'll ask the village clerk to please call the roll.
Trustee Hardy?
Aye.
Trustee Fish?
Aye.
Trustee Zeldin-Ross?
Aye.
Trustee Grady Palovich?
Aye.
Trustee Bassi?
Aye.
Trustee Mano?
Aye.
Mayor, I have another item here. I'd like to make a motion on resolution number 1165, approving and authorizing the execution of a proposal between the Village of Lansing and Curry Ford for the purchase of a 2019 F-450 service vehicle.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve resolution 1165, approving and authorizing the execution of the proposal between the Village of Lansing and Curry Ford for the purchase of a 2019 F-450 service vehicle. Are there questions or discussion? I'll ask the village clerk to please call the roll.
Trustee Hardy?
Aye.
Trustee Fish?
Aye.
Trustee Mano?
Aye.
Trustee Bassi?
Aye.
Trustee Grady Palovich?
Aye.
Trustee Zeldin-Ross?
Aye.
Mayor, that's all I have tonight on the village board meeting. I do have the two reports. First of all, the building department monthly report, March 2020. The Village of Lansing's building department is conducting to function despite the unfortunate circumstances the current focus is on. Ensuring only essential emergency permits, performing emergency and essential inspections as well as vacant property inspections, continuing to help clean up litter on our Lansing streets, targeting and identifying new vacant properties that will be slated next for the next round of the IHDA grant fund demolition and possible rehab in the future, creating a list of addresses with tree stumps located in Village Parkway and that will be needed to be removed. The other important task we are currently performing is working with the Lansing Police Department to help enforce social distance regulations in all business classified as essential by the governor's orders on March 20th, while assuring the businesses considered non-essential remain closed until further notice. Thank you. Please be safe. Building Commissioner Zorn Zabek. Zorn. Moving on, Mayor, to the Public Works, monthly report. March 2020, the Street Department has been working very diligently during this month with the street sweeper in full effect, as well as continuing to fill potholes throughout the town. There's an effort putting forward to clean up the trash throughout our village. Water service appointments, March 2020, delinquent accounts processed, there was 58. Turn-ons, there was 5. Red cars, there were 2. Meter changes, 4. Certificate of payment request, 8. Shut-offs, there were none due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Department activities, March 2020, Julie locates, processed, and utilities marked, there was 216. Removal of dead trees and diseased trees, there was 12. Snow events this month, there was none. Sewer-related issues, there was 11. And water-related excavations, there was 6. Director Gary Richardson, I know you're in the crowd. Do you have anything to add, sir?
Nothing, thank you.
Mayor, that's all I have tonight on the village board meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Information Technology, L&N and ADA, Trustee Manna.
Yes, Mayor, I have 2 reports, village reports for the month of April 2020. From the Technology Department has been working with various departments to ensure that as much flexibility as possible exists for employees that wish to work remotely. The COVID-19 pandemic has forced our departments to escalate some of the projects that we have planned to roll out for the week at-home requirements. However, the novel coronavirus outbreak has forced companies' hands to encourage or mandate employees to work from home. The unexpected challenge for employees to manage remote workforces and for employees to remain connected and productive at home may ultimately offer a proving ground for future work with home policies. We have been working with staff and are happy to report that several staff have been utilizing the programs we implemented several months ago to ensure that they have access to programs and files from outside of the office. This is a critical plan for us. Today, the coronavirus, but if it had been a situation where we have been fired or something else of that nature, we would have to be able to still get our information and process it without a normal office. Our department is excited about the endless possibilities that will be presented to our staff and also to our residents that we are seamlessly in how we adopt as a village. With remote environments, there are many benefits which we have to embrace, such as communications occur digitally in open channels where anyone can chime in on decision-making progress asynchronously. People who are not present in the office are not left out of decision-making, only to be filled in later. Virtually board meetings and virtually office meetings are things that we are now experiencing, and the ability to live stream them is not upon us. We have a very successful live stream of our last board meeting with no hiccups. We as departments are trying to remain cutting edge as much as possible, and understanding what remote means. While COVID-19 won't be an issue forever, remote will be. What we learn about leading a remote workforce now will likely become best practice for many companies, including the village, at some point later on. Fabian Newman, Director of Technology. And the L&N report for April 2020. During this time, L&N has taken part to help our residents stay informed with the most up-to-date information. Working closely with the administration, L&N created a series of videos highlighting responses from Mayor Patty Item and Clerk Vivian Payne. This allowed our leaders to spend directly to the village in a timely fashion, giving them peace of mind that the village is there for them and proactively responding to this panoramic. We are also adapting to the guidelines for social distancing while still bringing the village of Lansing's new programming. Examples are the video of the CDC guidelines for hand washing, as well as Lansing Rises Up, a piece showcasing our commitment as a village to stay connected during these times. We have also managed to edit shows that were already filmed and slated to air, such as the show Getting to Know with Karen Adams. For now, L&N is committed to creating new and exciting programs over the next few weeks while honoring its social distancing put in place by our village. Neil Murphy, Station Manager. That's all I have, Mayor.
Youth Center and Insurance, trustee Grady Palovich.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion on resolution number 1166, authorizing the execution of a settlement agreement in case number 2016 CV 8646.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve resolution 1166, authorizing the execution of a settlement agreement in case number 2016 CV 8646. Are there questions or discussion? I'll ask the village clerk to please call the roll.
Trustee Grady Palovich.
Aye.
Trustee Mano.
Aye.
Trustee Fish.
Aye.
Trustee Vassie.
Aye.
Trustee Hardy.
Aye.
Trustee Zeldinros.
Aye.
The rest of my report will be just a brief report on the youth center, as it has been closed for approximately half a month due to the COVID infection. The youth center started off the month pretty busy with their youth and media club editing their projects to showcase to an audience. It still hasn't come to fruition, but it should come soon as the epidemic or whatever passes. Culinary Club kicked off their 6-week program. And then, like I said, they closed early this month, so daily attendance is a little bit lower, but lots of improvements and cleanup is going on at the youth center while we are officially closed for the kids. The insurance, I have nothing to report there, other than that we have open enrollment until the end of May for the village health insurance policy, as discussed in prior meetings. That's it for me. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for public comment. If anyone in the audience has public comment, we ask that you speak forward to the mic, that you step forward to the microphone and please give us your name. Does anyone have anything for public comment tonight? Is there any remote comments, Mr. Reynolds?
There are no comments, Mayor.
Thank you. The trustees have anything for old business? I think the only old business is that it's Mike Nano's birthday. Happy birthday.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you.
Pretty old.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Trustees have anything for new business? I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
I'll ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Trustee Mano.
Aye.
Trustee Grady Palovich.
Aye.
Trustee Zeldinros.
Aye.
Trustee Hardy.
Aye.
Trustee Vassie.
Aye.
Trustee Fish.
Aye.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we'll call the Lansing Village Board Committee of the whole meeting for April 21st, 2020 to order. I'll ask the village clerk to please call the roll.
Trustee Zeldinros.
Here.
Trustee Grady Palovich.
Here.
Trustee Hardy.
Here.
Trustee Vassie.
Here.
Trustee Mano.
Here.
Trustee Fish.
Here.
Trustees have before them the minutes of the committee, the whole meeting of April 7th, 2020. Are there questions or discussion? I'll ask for a motion to approve.
Motion. Second.
I'll ask the village clerk to please call the roll.
Trustee Mano.
Aye.
Trustee Hardy.
Aye.
Trustee Vassie.
Aye.
Trustee Fish.
Aye.
Trustee Zeldinros.
Aye.
Trustee Grady Palovich.
Aye.
I have nothing for the mayor's report. We'll move on to the village administrator's report. Mr. Pegorski.
Thank you, Mayor. One item tonight, and that's gonna be continuing obviously for some time. This is, time we'll take to update the board and update the public on the coronavirus, how it's affecting the village. Unlike 2 weeks ago when we had all of our department heads step up and address how it was affecting, their department, tonight's, report will be a little more brief. And, we'll just focus on some of the key, issues administratively. But I would like to certainly have Fire Chief Chad Koyinga start us off. obviously his department, on the front lines of, dealing with residents that have, COVID-19, and, Chad's playing an integral role for the village, along with the mayor and listening in on all the elected official, teleconferences. So I want to start with an update from, the fire chief. Chad?
Thank you, Administrator Podgorski. Just to kind of bring the mayor, clerk, and the trustees up to speed, kind of on just the basic numbers at this point for the COVID crisis. To date, in the state of Illinois, we have just over 33,000 positive COVID-19 patients. As of this morning, per Cook County Department Public Health website, Lansing has 120 residents now that have tested positive for COVID-19. Of these residents, our firefighter paramedics have transported 14 of them to the hospital. And these have been patients, once they've arrived at the hospital, that have tested positive for COVID-19. Each time that we are notified of a positive COVID-19 patient, we place each one of our firefighter paramedics on a 14-day monitoring program. So they monitor symptoms for those 14 days that range from temperature to cough to, a myriad of things. At the end of that 14 days, if they have no symptoms that have developed, then they're kind of in the clear, you could say. The sad fact is just the way we keep running, seeing it, not many of our guys get off that 14-day list, and they continually cycle back onto another 14 days of monitoring. Presently, 14 of our 23 firefighter paramedics are self-monitoring. So that's almost, well over half of what we have. We've been really proactive as a department with the use of our PPE. So fortunately, we're very symptom-free for all of our guys that have had exposures. We're continuing to see that roughly half of our EMS volume is COVID-related. Call volume continues to trend slightly above where we were last year. We have noticed that a lot of the calls for leg pain and arm pain have kind of diminished as those calls that might have been scared out of the hospital and, seek treatment elsewhere. But in that place has been our COVID-19 suspected or positive patients. Our residents, again, have done a good job with kind of seeking those other points of care, whether it be telemedicine or calling their doctors. So again, we kind of figured that that's kind of helped delay, or not delay, but reduce those calls. We've yet to experience kind of that tidal wave that we kind of talked about originally of these COVID calls. We don't feel like we're out of the woods yet. We're still poised to kind of take that, when it comes. But as the days go by, we kind of think that maybe that is kind of lessened. So we're keeping our fingers crossed with that. And when we're not on the ambulance, firefighter paramedics are also now just answering a lot of fire calls, whether it be activated alarms. We have a lot of new cooks now in town as they're home. So we do a lot of smoke, smoke in the house calls, a lot of evac and smoke. So we've been busy. Kind of give you guys an idea as far as where we are within our neighboring communities. Calumet City right now stands at 200 patients that have tested positive in their community. South Holland has 172. Going a little further down south, Chicago Heights has 154. And like I mentioned at the beginning, we have 120. So, all things considered, we're doing pretty well, if we compare ourselves to the other neighboring towns. As Trustee Zeldin-Rust alluded to in our report, our PPE supply is pretty strong. I know Chief Byrne and I we talk every week now, just kind of seeing where each other are at as far as PPE. And really, we've started to look now towards the summer and fall as we kind of stock our PPE. We feel confident we have enough right now, but you're hearing more and more that this might be a second or a rebound effect to it. So we're all starting to plan for what's coming up next. Probably the one thing that we're, kind of is up in the air are gowns for us right now. We have worked with, again, Chief Murren, Lieutenant Bailey works with the EOC. So we think that both sides of us are going to take delivery of a lot more gowns too. So I think we're going to be okay in that area as well. I've had the chance to monitor the governor's bi-weekly calls. I think the mayor, you sit in on those as well. There's some good information that pops out of those. They detail a lot of the health specific kind of, information that we need on the fire department, so it's really nice to be able to have access to that. The state did open a testing center in Markham for the general public, earlier this week. And our department had a hand in that. Myself and Deputy Chief Grady, we went with the other chiefs in the area and we set up a western shelter on that site, so the National Guard can use that. And again, I have to come back to, and I know I talked about this 2 weeks ago, it's just the community. I'm continually amazed by the, just how everybody's kind of stepped up to help. We continue to receive donations, kind of from, I guess the fund for the UPC light that Trustee Zeldin-Russ started, and I mean, I think each board member, as well as everybody in the room, has really kind of helped, get us to that goal. I'm proud to say that you guys have got us to that $5,000 mark, and we're gonna be able to pay for that light, and with some of the extra money we've raised, we're probably gonna try and mount some, just lights in the ambulances as well. So thank you for that. Again, I have to thank the mayor and the clerk and the rest. I saw Trustee Zeldin-Russ and Mano, and I know all you guys couldn't be there, but you guys delivered lunches to the guys on shift. That was well received. Thank you. I feel like I've cheapened the word thank you so many times, but understand it is truly appreciated. And then businesses of Lansing. I know it's something we haven't had a chance to kind of, talk about because we're so busy kind of dealing with COVID, but I think you can speak to that as well, Chief, because we've had a great, just kind of influx of just supplies donated by our businesses. School district, 158's pitched in. So again, it's just it's nice to know that everybody is kind of helping all of us, all of us out. So I couldn't be happier or more impressed with the town that I work for. So that is about all I have. If you guys have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer to the best of my ability.
Ted, did you notice how abruptly, cut off the governor's teleconference was this afternoon?
Yeah, that was quick.
I don't think he wanted to take any questions.
No? Did you hear the guy asking if we were gonna take questions? The beginning of those calls are the worst, though.
He was done.
Yeah.
He was done for the day. I think some of the things he talked about in the press conference at 2:30, he really didn't have anything else to say today, so.
It seems like, that's kind of, we rehashed the press conference, yeah. There's some stuff we can clean out of it.
Chief, just please tell you guys to be safe and tell them, thank you. From the bottom of our hearts, they're doing a great job on it.
I will, and it was noticed and it was appreciated as well. Everybody stopping by and just everybody helping out, so.
And Chief, I was asked on behalf of the hospital staff from 3 of the hospitals in Northwest Indiana, thank you for participating in the parade. That said thank you to our healthcare workers. It kind of brought the whole family together, but they asked me to bring it up and I did. So thank you, we are glad to
We were
do that.
happy to do it, happy to do it.
Thank you, sir.
No problem, thank you guys.
All right, Chief, thank you. Chief Koenig mentioned, thanks to some of the members of the business community. Obviously, we're all concerned for the businesses in our town and all throughout the country and the nation. There's been a myriad of programs that the federal government is making available to those businesses. We have tried to recap some of those businesses, some of those programs and get them on the website. So just to demonstrate where that is, in case some of the board members get some questions by business owners that you know, I'm going to turn it over to the Mayor's Executive Assistant and all things communication, DOC Ken Reynolds.
One of the things, as I discussed at our last board meeting, was the ability to try and synthesize everything that we're getting and try and make it relevant to our residents on one end and then certainly our businesses on the other. So, along with Jack Hines and Administrator Pogorski, we met Jack gave us a lot of, there's so much information that's out there. So one thing we've utilized in the last probably 12 to 15 months is this small box you see down here in the right-hand corner. And it's a pop-up box that every time you go to our homepage, that shoots up from the bottom, whether you're on a desktop or whether you're on your phone. So we thought this was a good spot to hide it because one of the, I don't want to say problems, one of the difficulties with village sites is you get all the tabs across the top and people are like, where is everything? So, just briefly on our website, we have this how do I section up here that we put a lot of things under for residents to be able to access answers to the most commonly asked questions. We didn't want to bury this information here though. We wanted our businesses, if they don't already have it from other sources, to at least be able to find, the best and the easiest access to that information. So by clicking here, we just created a document that has links to the primary programs that are out there. And, to give you an example, the links we were given, one of them already expired, in the time that we met and put this together. It was a restaurant one, I think, Dan, if I remember. So that one no longer was available. And I know today, I believe there was some discussion of possibly some more funds being released for businesses. So this is really fluid, and it's something that we're gonna continue to work on. So the Paycheck Protection Program, or the PPP, and then being able to just put in the small business loans and trying to keep it as, again, concise as possible so that when they go to these applications or go to these sites, that's where the information for them and where the answers are. They're obviously not getting these through us, but we're just trying to provide that link for our businesses in town if they don't know how to get that information. So, and then even having an FAQ on the bottom for what essential business and operations are, trying to pull from, again, relevant documents that are the easiest to read and don't make them have to read 15, 18 pages to give them at least, get them going in the right direction. So that's one thing that we've done in that area. The other thing, just as a recap for our trustees in particular, our news section here, all of our stories, if you click this see all news section, you can see that the archive of them going back to as long as we have something that's live. When you create the story, you can make it stay up or stay alive as long as you want. But the way the website template works is the latest 3 are always the ones that are featured there. So as you can see right now, we received some information from Homewood Disposal about garbage collection, specifically relating to families that might have COVID in the home and what that policy is that Homewood is asking for on the disposal of that refuse. The fact that we are now streaming our meetings, at least in the interim, and so being able to go to that and seeing where the links are, and even the agendas for example, for tonight's meeting is there for them to access. Our goal with our stream was to replicate meetings to the best of our ability. Again, in that same time window, if the people cannot be here, we want them to be able to participate as if they were in the room. So that's the second thing, and then the third one's up there, as was alluded to in one of the reports. We've done several of our own videos with our LNN Channel 4 guys, and they've been great. The mayor's done 2. The mayor and Village Campaign did 1 together. And so what we're finding is that there's a shelf life to these that it's short, and then things change again. So that's one thing that we've been talking about. Our communication, even in our newsletter moving forward, may have to be electronic for a while. We don't want to print something that hits a house, let's just say June 1st, and the information in it is now no longer valid from when you went to the printer. And so that nature of, again, not knowing the end of this, what is the end of it, what's the date? I was talking to Village Engineer Pintar about that this morning. That's the most, there's many troubling aspects to this, but one of them is, when is, the end of whatever the next part is. So for us, using these features, our website and these latest news, keeping those dated so people know when they're from, the actual date was created, and then that dialog box that we can change at any time, and being able to update that as quickly as possible, even, it takes less than 5 minutes and you can have something brand new up there. Our Facebook page still continuing to put up relevant information for our residents, whether that be on the good news side, like the modified cleanup day we had on Saturday, and thank you to all of you who participated, and to Clerk Payne for continuing to forge ahead with that, even though we had social distancing requirements, so we still made a dent. But those types of feel-good things and also relevant news for our residents, and then again, things that may be more technical, maybe more business-related, or just more official, this is where we have those, kind of the division of our two primary forms of communication.
Any questions for Ken?
Great job.
Thank you. Okay, as trustee Abbasi, questioned a little bit earlier, we're obviously gonna be, from an administrative standpoint, we're, now starting to turn our attention as most of the information, that's been collected has been disseminated either to the businesses, or to our employees. We're now starting to turn our attention to, the financial impact, that the, COVID-19 business closures and just really shut down the entire economy is gonna have on the village of Lansing. We're coming up on budget season. We know the impact is gonna be great. We don't know, really to what extent, right now. So, Treasurer Fry and I have had some initial discussions and, asked her if she wanted to make, just a brief comment tonight, or not so brief if you really feel like going crazy.
Well, again, a lot of what I wanted to say or will say has already sort of been alluded to, but, the quarantines and limitations on our local businesses to function normally will have an impact to our village finances for months and even years to come. There's no historical situation for which we can model this after to try to predict and understand what that impact will be. And until the governor gives us an indication as to when he will release the shelter at home and open up some of the economy, we're not gonna know. It's just, the longer this goes on, the greater it's going to be. But it's going to be significant to our village. We are monitoring that, on a day and looking at where we will be. We are anticipating our losses to be in the millions, for the fiscal year coming up May 1st, 2020. A survey from the, of local governments from the Illinois Finance Officers Association indicated that of the finance directors that responded, they're anticipating 25% lost revenue in the next 6 months. So, we currently are able to seek reimbursements through FEMA for our COVID-19 expenditures, but that's going to be minute to the lost revenue that we're gonna experience. And even as of today, with the federal authorities coming to an agreement on the 4th stimulus package, there is no provision in that package for state and local general assistance. So currently, and some of these business, assistance that have come out, the village does not qualify for it. So at this point, we're looking at how to mitigate this loss of revenue. We're gonna do that looking at the current budget cycle, and this will include expense reductions, hiring freezes, deferred maintenance, lack of capital expenditures, and even short-term borrowing. Again, currently, there's been no decision as to what we're doing with it. But we will be presenting recommendations in the, with the budget submission. We realize that these are challenging times, both operationally and financially, for our residents, our businesses, and the village staff. It's important that we all do our part. The village departments will be asked to reduce costs as much as possible to function with minimal expenses. Residents, as they have been, will need to continue supporting local businesses, and for those who are able, to continue to make their utility payments, their tax payments, vehicle sticker payments, that applications will be coming out at the end of the month. Because it's only through everybody doing what they can do that we're gonna get through this, but we will get through it. That's basically what I have at this point.
Arlene, have we been contacted by any citizen who can't pay the water bill or is asking for deferments yet?
We are not assessing penalties. and we are not doing shut-offs. So, you know, I have not been specifically aware of somebody who's called, but the staff knows that that's the procedure. And so if somebody has called, you know, again, we're trying to be cognizant and understanding and just, you know, we have had residents call and say, oh, I don't have to pay my bill. And we explain to them, no, you will ultimately have to pay it at some point. So, you know, if you can pay it, you need to pay it. But we're not pressuring residents to get their payments in, even though, again, because of all this other lost revenue, we're gonna need whatever we can get to come in. And so we do appreciate residents who are making their payments online and, sending them into the Dropbox. It's, you know, it helps, it's been tremendous, so.
I do think it's worth bears repeating, just because there are those watching online that probably did not catch some of that. Water payments are still due, so if you have the means, please pay them, because the village depends on those revenues, although there will not be shut-offs or late fees for the time being. I just thought that needed some repeating, just to ensure those watching. I know I had a conversation with Treasurer Fry yesterday, and one of the things I was caught off guard with is how many layers of revenue we may be impacted by. You know, you think about utility bills, the municipal taxes that are taken out of those, and think of property taxes that aren't collected, and motor fuel tax that isn't gonna be received, and so it's pretty eye-opening to have those discussions.
It's really affecting every aspect of our revenue sources. You know, the police department, you know, while they normally do a great job on, you know, traffic enforcement and everything, but with social distancing, they're not making those stops, and we understand that. But therefore, we aren't receiving any fines and revenues. The courts have been suspended, so there's no court dates. So, you know, the building department, they're not issuing permits. So all those revenue streams are what's collectively coming in. Video gaming, our share of state video gaming, well, all the restaurants are closed to video gaming, so that's gonna go to zero. So we are, I mean, there are some of our revenue sources that will be zero for several months. There are some that, you know, sales tax revenue, I'm projecting, you know, probably a 50% decrease in our sales tax revenues for the next several months. There's a 3-month lag in sales tax, so we won't see what the first hit will be until May's sales tax distribution. So even though we get up and running as an economy, it will be several months before our revenue stream even begins to show an increase. So yeah, it's an important thing.
Well, I would think also, like hotel groups they're down, probably car sales are down.
Yes.
So like you said, going really across the whole board.
And we have, you know, we have 3 car dealerships in town. So those are large sales tax revenues. You know, and for our residents that may or may not know, sales tax to the village is generated by those businesses specifically in the village. Okay, where, you know, some states it's more of an allocation of the state as a whole. For Illinois, our sales tax are generated by by local businesses. That's why it's important to shop local. It's important that we patronize our local businesses. But, you know, when we receive close to $500,000 a month in sales tax revenues, and those businesses are closed, that's a lot of increase in money. And again, we don't know right now what that effect will be. We'll start getting a feel for it next month. But, and the longer this goes on, the greater that will be.
Any other questions for Treasurer Fry? So obviously we can see why some communities across the country, why the calls for opening up the economy are getting louder and louder, because, we're all gonna be in the same boat. And, you know, you saw the governor's predictions for how bad the state's budget will be impacted. So everyone's going to feel it. There's gonna be there will be pain across the board. But I'm confident we have a outstanding staff that understands the need to come back where possible. Absolutely want to assure residents that essential services will not be compromised, no matter what sort of pain we have to go through. So when it comes to your first responders, your law enforcement, fire suppression, paramedic services, getting your garbage picked up, getting your snow plowed, the basics, we will not see any decrease to those services. So, you know, it'll be a division of essential versus non-essential, which is what we're basically rolling out right now, and the cuts may become dire, they may become a little deeper, but we have no doubt that we'll get through it. So, more to come in the weeks ahead as we begin to have our budget meetings. And, you know, I'm sure we'll all go through it together. The most important thing is what we're doing now, social distancing and keeping everybody safe, and we'll get through it, I'm sure. I do know the mayor wanted to have a moment here to also announce a couple of programs. She's diligently taking a lot of time and sifting through all the elected officials who, I think in some cases, are kind of piling on top of one another to maybe say some of the same things, but I know she's diligently sitting in on all those calls. So, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Piperski. I have two things that actually are not repetitive. One thing I've discovered for sure is that the chair at my desk at home is not nearly as comfortable as my chair in my office. I got a call today from Carolyn Schofield of Water's Edge on behalf of the Lansing Area Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber of Commerce will soon launch a new program called Lansing Strong. The plan is to ask for donations from our residents so the Chamber can purchase $10 gift cards for Lansing's first responders, which will include our police, fire, and public works employees. The gift cards will be purchased from local establishments such as Lenny Q's, Gus Bach, Ace Hardware, J.J. Kelly's, Water's Edge, Mancino's, Subways, and many other Lansing businesses. Donations can be sent to the Chamber office. There will also be a donation box soon at Water's Edge on Wentworth, and they hope to have a donation box at least one other location. They're hoping for Gus Bach, Ace Hardware. The Chamber came up with this as an idea to help both our first responders as well as our local businesses shop local. I agree with them. It sounds like a win-win for everyone, so I hope everyone will participate in this. They hope to have this announced within the next few weeks and up and running, so it sounds like a great idea to me, so hopefully we can all support it. The other thing I have is, I got a call from Bloom Township Supervisor TJ Summer. Today they are announcing a new program, due to the COVID-19 pandemic. It's called Got Milk, with a question mark. They will be giving away 500 gallons of milk each week to those in need. The event will kick off Thursday, April 23rd at noon at the Township Food Pantry entrance on the north side of the Bloom Township Center at 425 Halstead Street in Chicago Heights. It's directly across the street from Prairie State College. This milk program giveaway will occur every Thursday. Every Thursday from noon until 3 p.m. for the next 4 to 6 weeks, as long as milk is available. The program is primarily designed for Bloom Township residents in need. That means everyone in Lansing that lives south of 186th Street. However, they do not intend to turn anyone away. The program is completely funded by Bloom Township. As most of you know, I am working from home as much as possible. However, I do intend to attend this kickoff. TJ Summer mentioned to me that he considers it a great opportunity to get out information about social distancing and wearing masks and gloves. And of course, and they've got no program, and also to remind everybody to fill out their census, so I'll be joining him on Thursday. There are, I have some posters here if anybody would like to pick one up afterwards. That's all I have, Mr. Pipers.
Okay, Mayor, thank you. Any questions, about those programs? Okay, if not, we'll, as you can see, the layers of this are, you know, there's waves and waves of, what's going on throughout the country right now. So we're doing our best to try to bring everything to the public and to the board. So, we'll be back in a couple weeks, with another update unless something, more pressing happens, and then we'll get it out to the board, obviously, right away. So, Mayor, that's all I have right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Move on to the village attorney's report, Mr. Welch.
Nothing to report.
Thank you, sir. Finance and Human Relations Commission, trustee Abbasi.
Thank you, Mayor, nothing tonight.
Airport and Economic Development, trustee Fish.
Thank you, Mayor, no report.
Police and Fire, trustee Zeldin Rust.
Thank you, Mayor. We heard from the fire chief. Anything that you want to say that you forgot to say during your report?
I think I'm good, thank you.
Got his shot, and our police chief is here as well. Nothing was forwarded, but if there's any late breaking news, we'd be glad to hear it. Nothing to report. That's all we have, then for tonight. Nothing further to report.
Buildings and Public Works, trustee Hardy.
Thank you, Mayor. I have one item here tonight. I have, the demolition on Torrance Avenue, the TIF properties. We have our village engineer, Jeff Pintar, that's going to, brief, the board, with, the demolition, from KLF Enterprises. So the floor is yours, Jeff. Thank you.
Thank you, trustee Hardy. Want to start by, talking a little bit about the bid process. Actually, trustee Abbasi and Administrator Pipers, we're talking about the time, between this meeting of authorizing to go to bid and actually accepting the bids, that whole process. Kind of plays in well to this item tonight. As you may recall, anytime we initiate a project, we come to the village board at the committee of the whole meeting, we discuss it, we get some engineering done, then we come back at a board meeting, authorize the advertisement like we did for the street program tonight. And then, as engineers, we go through the process of advertising, collecting the bids, reviewing the bids, bringing it back to the board. Again, a timely process. After we bring the board, the bids back, you guys award the project. After that process, there's about a 4-week period of executing contracts, the contractor getting their insurance, getting their contract bond together, all of that happening before the project even gets started. That's why we call it the bid process. It is just that, it's a process. So with the building demolition contract that we currently have with KLF, that was initiated for the IDA grant to demolish residential homes that were abandoned through the grant process. Knowing that from time to time the village acquires, with the attorney's help, other abandoned properties, whether it be commercial, industrial, or residential, what we didn't want to do is have to go through that bid process every time the village acquired a new property to demolish. So we inserted some language in the contract that KLF was awarded earlier this year that gave the village an opportunity to negotiate prices with KLF for this calendar year. So through December 31st of 2020, any new property that comes to light that the village wants to demolish, the village staff and KLF can negotiate that price to avoid that bid process. So that's where we're at today. The village has acquired 2 properties within the Torrance Avenue TIF, 17943 Torrance Avenue, the Rosemore Funeral Home, and also 18007 Torrance Avenue, the Art Lynn Photography building. Through that contract language, the village and KLF have discussed the terms of the demolition, and KLF has since provided proposals which are in your bid packet for review. So those 2 proposals are in your hands to review. Our recommendation, like we do for any other bid process, we make sure that the terms are consistent with what the village requires as far as the demolition the removal, the backfilling and things of that nature. And we find that it is in line with our typical demolition terms. We also review the price. The majority of the prices, it's not the labor to demolish, these companies demolish quickly. It's the haul off and the backfilling. Like the Rosemore Funeral Home has a 8-foot basement, it's a large building. That backfill material is the majority of the cost. So what we did is we took a look at the two proposal costs. We looked at industry standards, we looked at the bids that we just received to make sure that they were in line. And we feel that they are. So we are recommending, much like a bid award, we're recommending that these proposals are in line with industry standards. So it would be our recommendation that the village entertain entering into a contract or extending that contract that you currently have with KLF for the demolition of those 2 commercial properties. So we want to bring it to the committee of the whole just for discussion first.
Jeff, I don't know if you have any experience with this, but being a funeral home, are there environmental concerns with demolishing that building?
Well, we went through all the asbestos materials taken care of. We spoke with the funeral home directors, everything that they deal with has been taken care of. Sewers, anything that, would be released down the sewers, that's all gonna be demolished, cut and capped at the property line. So there's no other environmental concerns that we have, but you're welcome. Any other questions from the board?
The board doesn't have any more questions for Jeff. Mayor, I would like to have this on for our next village board meeting for a vote. But that's all I would have then for tonight, though. So thank you, Mayor.
Information Technology, L&N and ADA, Trustee Mano.
I have nothing at this time, Mayor.
Youth Center and Insurance, Trustee Brady Karovich.
I have nothing tonight, thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for public comment. Please remember that this is a committee of the whole meeting, and so your comments should be, the topics of your comments should be limited to the topics that are on this agenda. Is there anyone in the audience here that has a public comment? Mr. Reynolds, do we have any remote comments?
No emails for this meeting, Mayor.
Thank you. Do the trustees have anything for old business?
No.
Do the trustees have anything for new business?
Mayor, I have a couple things. I would, first of all, just as a Lansing resident trustee, I would like to thank, all the village employees for their hard work, dedication during this difficult time that we're all experiencing. So I just wanted to say thank you to, you and your staff, and please pass that on, department heads. Second of all, I know Ken Reynolds was talking about, the small business loans, and I also want to thank the chamber, Amy Todd. She has been very diligent about getting that word out also to a lot of the small businesses here in Lansing, and as a small business owner myself, it has helped me out. So thank you to Amy Todd. And then third of all, we have Trustee Mano. We have his birthday, and his wife Kathy presented me with some cupcakes. And if I could have 2 minutes, we'll keep some distance here. I got some gloves, and Mayor, if that's all right, I would like to bring out some cupcakes, and maybe we can sing the Trustee Mano. Thank you.
Turn our microphones on.
Yeah.
Jerry, you bring your guitar?
No, sorry.
Hey, trustees, how about if we, ask for a motion, to adjourn to executive session to discuss the purchase or sale of real property for the use of the public body and collective bargaining?
Motion.
Second. All those in favor?
All right.
Meeting's adjourned to executive session in about 10 minutes.
Thank you.